He was a rock star in every sense of the word, a fast rise, meteoric fame, and a gluttonous rock and roll lifestyle complete with out-of-control habits and unchecked excesses. Women, drugs, endless partying, until one day it all came crashing down. This week on Behind the Music, we tell the story of the rise, the fall, and the redemption of this Sleepy Hollow legend, in his own mind, Mike Dahle. This is Mike Dahle Behind the Music. Mike grew up the oldest of three siblings, including his brother Brad and sister Jennifer, in a boring suburb of New York City called Briarcliff Manor.
Mike was a very cute toddler and a decent kid. Over time, he became a little shit, actually. The truth is, he had trouble making friends.
Mike tried his hand at a number of different pursuits. Unlike his son Griffin, he possessed no ability to thrive at sports. Some have even whispered that Griffin is somehow from an entirely different genetic pool, but that is another story. Mike's lack of focus as a teenager and any perceptible talents whatsoever caused him to get into trouble at school.
Mike was hard to manage in class when he decided to attend at all. Most teachers prayed that he would skip their classes, which he did. There were several times I had to call him at home to tell him to get his ass in class.
Finally, Mike found something to occupy his time by taking up the drums. It was essentially his way of getting people to pay attention to him, a need that would never diminish over time. Like most struggling musicians, Mike went through a number of different musical personas. One early band was a singing duo called Two Jills, with Mike and fellow cross-dresser Tom Morrissey. In today's Me Too era, Two Jills might have been a hit, but in 1978, they were simply too far ahead of their time, and the critics didn't take to the band.
That band sucked. They couldn't sing a note, and their dresses were awful.
Another one of Mike's early bands, a patriotic tribute act called Flagman, also failed to gain a following. Sure, he could get gigs on federal holidays like Memorial Day, July 4th, and Veterans Day, but he couldn't build or sustain a following with 5 or 6 gigs a year. Plus, the band sucked.
Flagman, another attempt to get people's attention.
And then there was his band Swami, a nod to Mike's growing interest in mysticism and the occult. Mike's insistence on always wearing the headpiece irritated the other members of Swami, and after constant bickering and an inability to get anyone at all to attend their shows, the band broke up.
That band sucked. In fact, all of his bands sucked.
But then came a breakthrough. The Stones drummer Charlie Watts got too sick to perform one night. The Stones had to stop playing in the middle of the gig. Luckily, Mike happened to be in the audience and jumped on stage to save the day. By all accounts, it was an epic performance that catapulted him into the limelight. Word spread like wildfire in rock and roll circles about Mike's playing that night. His phone started ringing. The Who got wind of his skills, and after Keith Moon passed away from too much partying, something that would prove prophetic in Mike's life, they invited him on tour with them as Keith's replacement. Suddenly, Mike became the go-to guy for the hottest bands on the planet. The Doors, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin. He filled in for Karen Carpenter after her tragic death. To his delight, they even allowed him to wear a dress. Mike was white hot. He was getting invited to all the cool parties and hanging with the rich and famous. He was everywhere in the press. Guys wanted to hang with him, and girls wanted to be with him. He was even invited to the White House for a private visit with President Richard Nixon. Fame went to Mike's already notorious ego, and he started partying to excess. In Hollywood, there were a number of fellow musicians living the same out-of-control lifestyle. Mike became synonymous with these rock legends. Keith Richards, Steven Tyler, Mike. But Mike's bad habits were starting to cause problems and friends were getting concerned. There were several arrests. Mike started missing gigs and soon gained a reputation as unreliable and dangerous. friends and family tried to intervene.
I asked Mike about what I was reading in the newspapers. Did he really drive a car into a swimming pool? Was it true that he had a blood transfusion just to get into the country? I mean, what the F was going on? Then one day I came home and I found vodka, bongs, and white powder everywhere. So I asked him, Mike, is this yours? First he tried to convince me that the powder was detergent. That didn't make any sense at all. He didn't even have a washing machine in his bedroom. Finally, he said, okay, Mom, I'll tell you the truth. The drugs, the booze, everything, it all belongs to Tara.
The Tara that Mike referred to was the trusted and beloved Dahle family dog. Tara had always been a positive influence in his life. Tara wasn't an angel, having had 3 litters out of wedlock, but both Sherry and Mike knew that, in reality, Tara was a total teetotaler. Tara had never touched a drink or drug in her life. Sherry was not buying his story. This was Mike's bottom. All of Mike's showbiz friends had dropped him, and he refused to go back to his boring friends who knew him on the way up. Mike knew something needed to change. When we come back, we'll show you how Mike managed to dig out and claw his way back to respectability, right after this commercial break.
Crazy Eddie's greatest TV and video sale ever. Get a video recorder, color TV, large screen TV, video camera, even an audio video component system. Get it all on sale now during Crazy Eddie's greatest TV and video sale ever. Remember, we are not undersold. We will not be undersold. We cannot be undersold, and we mean it. So get anything and everything in TV and video. Get it now during Crazy Eddie's greatest TV and video sale ever. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
Yes, Mike's hard-partying lifestyle had put him on a downward spiral, leaving him with no real friends and no gigs. It was around this time that Mike met the most patient woman in America. Actually, the planet. Actually, the universe. This woman was Bridget Kyle. Ironically, Bridget had had her own career in music with a mild hit of her version of God Bless America and her band called Flagwoman, persona inspired in part by Mike's earlier work as Flagman. Their relationship was professional at first. They parlayed their mutual passion for music into a new duo called Melvis and Red Lady, a persona that actually worked for a while. They scored a few hits with songs Mike penned, such as Look at Me, Thank You for Loving Me, Everyone Please Like Me, and of course, from their second album entitled More About Me, the hit ballad, Not Your Time to Speak. Bridget provided a balance to Mike's neediness. She somehow saw past his overbearing Norwegian demeanor and childish ways. Over time, a relationship blossomed. When they got married, Mike swore off the lifestyle that was almost the end of him.
Thank God for Bridget. I was so glad to have someone else to put up with his bullshit.
Mike and Bridget went on to have a wonderful, handsomer than Mike's son named Griffin. Over time, Mike was accepted back into the boring crowd he previously dumped along the way. They now patiently listen to his stories of his glory days in rock and roll while talking shit behind his back. It's been a gift of sorts that Mike doesn't seem to notice their lack of interest in much of anything he says. Mike has even managed to keep a steady job. He's now a salesman in the murky world of enterprise software, where he successfully sells vaporware to anyone naive enough to buy it from him. Today, Mike plays gigs with a less famous group of marginally talented friends, but the work is steady and the dangers are reserved to a few Budweisers and the occasional Uber ride home from Squires, a local bar for has-been musicians and B-minus paddle tennis players. Mike and Bridget lead a relatively low-key lifestyle now. Sometimes, just for old time's sake, they resurrect their previous personas into an alternative act called The Star and the Stripe, where they hit the local karaoke bars and play the occasional nursing home gig.
All in all, I think I'm proud of him, the way things turned out and all. He's still needy as hell.